What's happening? In today's video I'm going to talk about how I managed to get a strong deadlift with quite minimal effort. If you follow me on Instagram, you'd know that I managed to pull 220 kilos from the floor. But before I talk about all of that, what I'm going to do is roll the clip from my deadlift PR last week. So let's roll the clip in 3, 2, 1. So yeah, 5 plates went up quite easily. The bar speed was pretty good. The one thing I'll be critical about is that I lost a little bit of tightness in my upper back. And to be honest, it's kind of expected when you are going to max out. If you look at any of the other videos when I'm doing reps with a deadlift, my back is completely straight. But just in this lift, where I'm testing my 1 rep max, I did lose a little bit of tightness. You know, it does happen, like I say, when you max out. It's kind of likely that it might happen. You just gotta look at other guys in fitness. People like Jeff Cavalier from Athlete X, he obviously knows what he's doing, he knows how to train. And when he went to max out for his deadlift, yeah, his back rounded. So yeah, I wouldn't advise allowing your back to round when you're doing deadlifts, but in this scenario, obviously I didn't want it to happen, but when I'm testing, doing my, you know, my 1 rep max, it could happen. So basically, I've managed to gain that strength on a deadlift through different movements. And I don't mean doing like Romanian deadlifts, stiff leg deadlifts. I mean just working the muscles that the deadlift works. When I've trained back, I've always done rows, heavy rows. I've always done pull downs, pull-ups. You just gotta think about what muscles the deadlift works. Pretty much your whole posterior chain. So everything on the back half of your body, from your back, you know, your traps, rhomboids, lats, hamstrings, calves. Obviously your core is going to be engaged heavily as well. So obviously not your posterior chain, I'm just listing everything that the deadlift works. Obviously your quads are heavily involved in the movement as well, and your biceps. So what I'm trying to get at is, if you work all these muscles in other movements well, that will transfer over to your deadlift, and that's exactly what happened to me. So yeah, prior to doing any deadlifts at all, the muscle groups I just mentioned were relatively strong and kind of developed from other things. I'm one of them people, the few percentage of guys maybe, that took leg training seriously. So when I first started training, I did squat with purpose. I went in to get stronger every session, and that's kind of helped me get a strong deadlift now. And when I first did squats, maybe for the first year and a half of training, I did squat with kind of like a wide stance. So with that wider stance, it's just putting more emphasis on the hamstrings and glutes, which obviously are heavily involved in the deadlift. So I do believe that that is like a fundamental reason why that is carried over into my deadlift. If you get stronger with your movements involving your back and your legs, I guarantee your deadlift will blow up. Now what I do want to touch on is, when I did deadlifts for a short period, I did get stronger with them. So my first ever session of doing deadlifts, I did 3 sets of 6 to 8 with 140 kilos. And then I just thought, oh, let's see how much I can do for 1 rep. And I tried 160 kilos and it honestly flew up. So prior to doing any deadlifts at all, I probably imagine I was close to 4 plates, probably between 170 and 180 kg. And that's before I ever even did a deadlift. So what I'm saying is, obviously I had a strong deadlift before I even started. Don't expect to be able to deadlift 220 kilos in 18 sessions of deadlifts if you're new to training. So when I did program my deadlifts into my split, I basically did something quite simple. I deadlifted heavy once a week. First like 10 sessions, I just did 3 sets of 5 reps, something very simple, and just progressed in a linear fashion. And once I found it to get really hard, I think it was around like 175 kilos when I was doing 3 sets of 5, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna be able to do this for much longer. So what I did, I went to a top set and a back off. So my top set was a rep range of 5 to 9, and then my back off set was a rep range of 10 to 15. So what that allowed me to do was put more effort into each set. If you're doing 3 or 4 sets, you can't go to failure every set, because you're gonna be taxed and you're gonna be burnt out halfway through your session. So obviously volume is something we can't ignore, and it's so important for muscle hypertrophy. But you just gotta think that sometimes more is not better. 3 or 4 sets isn't necessarily better than 2 sets. And yeah, switching up to a top set and a back off set just allowed me to make faster progress, and I didn't plateau then all the way up to when the gym's closed. It's pretty weird for me, like with deadlifts, it's a lift that I've never cared about, put minimal effort in, and then like another lift like my bench press, I put in a lot of work into that and my progress is slow. It's not even like with my body's anatomy that I should be excelling in deadlifts. Like, you tend to find that people with better leverages, so longer arms, they have like a good deadlift, whereas I don't have that. My wingspan exactly the same as my height, so I don't really have that advantage. Obviously, I think the main thing for me was that my muscle groups involved in the deadlift were quite well developed, and outside of the gym I take my nutrition, sleep and recovery really seriously. You know, if you don't take your recovery as seriously as your training, you're going to suffer. Your results aren't going to be as quick. So that's another like key bit of advice I'd advise anybody, is just make sure you're being serious about your recovery. You know, you're not growing while you're in the gym, you're growing outside of the gym. Anyway, that was my journey from not doing deadlifts to a 220 kilo deadlift. But obviously I could have clickbaited this video and be like 18 sessions, managed to get 5 plate deadlift, but I'm all about being transparent and honest about my training. So obviously I made quick progress when I started deadlifts, but it's not the full picture, if you know what I mean. I hope this video was insightful and you learned something from it. Remember to drop the video a like, and if you happen to be new, remember to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.